What is the best joke you've made that flew over everyone and you want some goddamn recognition for? I was in America, I'm British, and met this dude whose name was Miles. He introduced himself to me in front of a group of people saying, "Hey, my name is Miles," but he pronounced it Miles, like it was two separate syllables. I commented how I'd never heard anyone say it like that, and someone said, "Oh yeah, how do you say it in the UK?" And without skipping a beat I said kilometers. One dude lost his crap. 5 others kind of missed it and carried on talking. Oh well, I bonded with that dude pretty hard after that. I was at a friend's house while she was having a friendly argument with her mum about being old enough to do what she likes. At one point the mother says, "Hey, I brought you into this world and I can send you back up from where you came." At that point I shouted out in a parental tone, "Yeah, go to your womb." No reaction at all, just carried on with their conversation. Probably spent the next 10 minutes in silent disappointment. Senior year religion class at a Catholic high school. Our deacon teacher asks us what's the 2 words you're not supposed to say to a Jehovah's Witness. The class was a wasteland of boredom. I, figuring what the hell, raised my hand and responded, "Come in." Dead silence. Might as well as have had a tumbleweed rolling by. For the record, the answer was "Happy birthday." My office had just redone the gym. They did a great job too. New machines, free weights, carpeting, locker rooms, etc. etc. It was unrecognizable. I'm down there, jetting swole, lol, when the CFO walks in and says, "Wow, this is fancy." So I replied, "Yeah. In fact, we're not calling it the gym anymore. Now it's called the James." And he just turns around and walks out without even so much as a smirk. I was furious. The timing and cleverness of it was on point and this guy didn't even crack a smile. My wife and I were in a birthing class with about 8 other pregnant couples. The teacher asked us to go around the room and say what we were most afraid of. Every other couple said the same thing. They just wanted their baby to be healthy. When it was my turn, I said, "We are terrified our baby won't be cute." Nobody laughed and everyone thought I was serious. I heard someone in the back whisper something, like "he won't be a good father." My wife and I laughed hysterically all the way home. We were in first year of college studying our aircraft maintenance engineering apprenticeship and a guy asked, "Is it true that when you flush the toilet on a plane it all gets sucked out of the back?" The lecturer said no. Think about it. At 35,000 feet a lump of number 2 would freeze instantly at 56 C and solidify and get sucked into the engine and do a lot of damage. Then I said, then the crap would hit the fan. I was in high school before first period, so the teacher wasn't even there yet. It was me and 3 other girls I don't even remember the names of. One of them was going on and bragging about her boyfriend. Apparently, this dude cheated on her 4 times. And she's still with him. As her 2 friends try to tell her to just drop him, the girl digs through her phone for pics of him. As she's scrolling, she kinda flirtily goes, "Oops, gotta find one that's PG." I go, "Why bother? He's already rated E for everyone." To be fair, they probably would have laughed if I wasn't a total stranger mocking someone's boyfriend. But still. Spent my lunch break doing a crossword. Occasionally asking some clues out loud for people to help with, just to get them warmed up. Then, the ground having been prepared, I entered the final phase. 3 across overworked postman. Someone took the bait. How many letters? And with a perfect deadpan delivery, I pounced on my prey. Thousands. Nothing. Nothing. I was in a graduate class for teaching math. Somebody asked if we knew the way they multiply in China. I said same way we do, but only once. My husband and I were at Jeanette's Pier on the Outer Banks and there were stuffed eels in the gift shop. My husband said, "What kind of eel do you think that is?" I responded with a question. "Do you love it?" I asked. He said yes, to which I replied, "Then, it's a moray." That was 4 years ago. He still won't speak to me. People were talking about Stephen Hawking passing away and someone mentioned he was British. 2 teenage girls said they didn't realize he was from England. I said, "Yeah, it's hard to tell, since he lost his accent." No one laughed. One time I was in the car with my mum, and I went to open the boot. She warned me to be careful. that there was a butternut squash in there as she had just been shopping. On the spot, I replied, "You'd butternut squash it." I wish I'd had more of an audience as no one else I've cracked the joke to has given me much credit, but I'm glad her and I could laugh over it, haha. Was chilling at a party when 3 of my friends who went to Greek school together started speaking Greek to each other. My other friend showed up and asked me what they were saying. I shrugged and responded, "IDK man. It's all Greek to me." Joke went over his head and I still think about it daily. I have this giant Buddha statue which looks like it's made of solid stone. A friend was helping me pack for a move. She went to pick it up and almost threw it in the air, commenting, "I thought he would be much heavier." Without missing a second I said, "Oh, no, he's enlightened. Nothing." I used to buy a couple hundred Cadbury eggs the day after Easter and eat one a day for the rest of the year. I was talking to a friend during the fall about eating one, and she says, "But it's not Easter." I was working in the US Census Office last cycle and they are very careful about keeping personal information confidential. Every evening just before 5 someone would collect all the confidential papers and take them to the back to be shredded. This particular evening, while collecting material, my coworker began calling out, "Bring out your shred. Bring out your shred." When he gets to my row I look from the papers on my desk to the clock, back to the papers, and them to him, saying, "It's not quite shred yet. Can you wait a minute?" He was shocked that somebody got the reference. We were the only ones. Was viewing a house recently to buy it. It's a fixer-upper, aka Crackdown. We were talking to the realtor who had yet to realize a disgust. In the driveway was a toilet with a box around it. I couldn't resist. I said I saw in the listing that the house was 2.5 baths. Is that the house bath? D. He calmly explained that the 1/2 bath was inside. Life is pain. I was at a Bible camp volunteering, and the kids in my cabin sucked. At the staff meeting we all went around saying how our cabin is. The 3 people before me basically said my kids are all little angels. They're all so great. This is a Bible camp, and in the Bible angels are scary AF and almost always open with "Do not be afraid." So I said my kids are all little angels too. Every time I see one I need someone to say, "Do not be afraid." The only person who laughed is a pastor in real life. My friends were walking ahead of me when I noticed that they were literally going down a street called, no joke, Wrong Way. I was shouting at them that they were going the wrong way and they just shouted back, "No, the car is this way," and continued walking. It wasn't nearly as funny when I sprinted after them and explained it in detail while laughing to myself. Frick them. That was hilarious. Went on a date with a cop. He said something stupid and I responded with a phrase I commonly say from the movie Babe. "That'll do, pig. That'll do." After I said it, I realized I could have offended and apologized. He didn't get the reference or why it was offensive, so obviously I explained it. It's a good thing I found someone, because we're lousy at dating. Not me, but my stepdad, and I'm the one who didn't get it. I was about 9, and it was Christmas time. There was a Barbie-shaped box under the tree, and I was sure it was the one I asked for. I was dying from excitement, and kept begging to open it. When that failed, I begged for hints. For 2 weeks the only hint he would give me was Christmas Eve he caved, and let me open it. It was cards. I did get the Barbie on Christmas morning. At a bar, I ordered a sex on the beach, and the bartender made it with pure booze. Barely any mix. I took a sip, made a face, and said, "Excuse me sir, I ordered a sex on the beach. This is all sex. May I please have some beach?" The bartender laughed. No one else did. This is still the best damn joke I ever made. My sister-in-law had a lawn chair in her backyard that was missing 2 legs. I asked her what happened to it. She said she was walking home and this chair just spoke to her. I said, "Did it say get off?" I was in speech class and the professor asked everyone, "Okay, so what is onomatopoeia?" Normal 9 AM silence. Me, "It's exactly what it sounds like." Loudly and excitedly. Blank stares all around. Jump forward 3 years. I post this to another askreddit asking a similar question to Opus. No upvotes. Now give me some goddamned karma for a beautifully played joke in a setting you would never get a straighter line for the setup. When we were in Budapest, we stopped at this cathedral to see the Holy Hand. It's just some dude's hand they keep in a box. He was supposed to be a saint on something. Anyway, my father-in-law is stopped by 2 girls who want him to take their photo outside the cathedral. I asked him about it, and he said one of girls was missing a hand. So they asked me for help. So I said, "Did you tell her they have a spare?" He didn't hear me. Damn it. Excuse me when 2 ladies were blocking the eggs at the grocery store. This happened recently, and I'm telling everyone I know about it, because it was my greatest moment ever. An Irishman walks into a blacksmith looking for a job and the blacksmith asks, "So Seamus, have you ever shoot a horse before?" Seamus replies, "Nah, but I once told a donkey to frick off." Make like a censor, and get the frick out of here. This happened around 15 years ago. I took app physics during my senior year in high school. The curriculum covered electricity and magnetism. The teacher began a lecture with resistances, and paused for a few seconds. I then said, "Futile." There were apparently no fellow trekkers in the class. I was watching a recorded baseball game that I had missed due to work, and my girlfriend at the time walked into the room during the 11th inning, texting on her phone. Without looking up, she mumbled, "What ya watching?" I said, "A Game of Thrones marathon." Still without looking up, she asked, "New episode?" Flabbergasted at her lack of situational awareness, I responded with just the hits. She shrugged, said K, and walked away. We broke up shortly thereafter, due to constant miscommunications. I was in English class and we were having a debate about this Ray Bradbury short story that describes a house in the aftermath of nuclear war. It mentions the death of man, woman, 2 children, and a dog who lived there. I said brings a whole new meaning to nuclear family. I got a few weird glances and the class moved on. I'm in law school. My friend asked me if I was taking taxation next semester. I told him I would, but I couldn't fit representation in my schedule. Still mad he missed it. Someone brought up Vin Diesel's twin brother, who looks very different and isn't a big jacked dude. I commented that his name should be Thin Diesel. Thin Diesel. That's comedy gold, or at least comedy bronze. I will start. A programming friend was asking his buddies for algorithms for a certain thing. Programming isn't my forte, so excuse the layman's terms. They all started sending him files containing algorithms. I sent him a picture of Al Gore playing a guitar with the quote, "This is the only algorithm you need." Crickets. One of the first days in my high school history class, my teacher tells everyone to look at one of the first pages in our textbook labeled page II. He reads it as page II, so I start singing dun dun. Dun dun. Dun dun as in the acoustics from the beginning of Crazy Train. No one understands why I'm being disruptive, and I look like an ass. Not my best joke, but for some reason I found it absurdly hilarious. Told kids that I teach that I was amazing at alliteration. That's why they called me Alliteration Dan. Nobody got why it was funny. There's an educational computer game series from the 1990s called Freddy Fish, and my son had a plush toy of Freddy and his little fish pal Luther. He particularly loved Luther and carried the toy everywhere he went. One Sunday morning the wife drove us to church, and she wanted him to leave his beloved toy in the car instead of taking it inside. Without missing a beat, I said, "Yeah, it's not a Lutheran church." Nobody got the joke, and I'll never get the chance to tell that joke again, but I still remember it. She uses so much equal in her coffee, she should call it greater than. True story. Receptionist passed through the lunchroom pointing her fork at me, and said, "Fork you." Instantly I retorted, "Well, that wasn't very nice." Was being trained in a restaurant. They asked me if I knew how to make a Caesar salad. I asked if you just stab it a bunch. No one caught it. Edit. Word. Edit 2. My top rated Reddit comment is a pun. I can die happy now. The college I attend is pretty Christian, so it can be taboo to party around some people. Someone at a house party tried to shame me for drinking too much once. I quickly told him, but Jesus's blood alcohol level was through the roof at the Last Supper. No response, but I'm proud of it. Was in a public bathroom, and every toilet was being used. Someone says, wow, we got a full house. I respond from the toilet, and if we all finish at the same time, it'll be a royal flush. Crickets. In a meeting, upset about Olo sales numbers and implied lack of dedication, my boss asked the group, so I don't know, you tell me, what's worse here, your ignorance or your apathy? I said, I don't know, and I don't care. There was only silence. No one ever mentioned it to me, and the boss went on like I said nothing. How do you get down off a mountain? You don't. You get it off a goose. Told in a bar full of people and they all just stared at me. My brother and I were eating hot dogs from 7-Eleven in my car before work. After about 2 minutes, he stops chewing and complains, "These hot dogs freaking suck." Without missing a beat I reply, "Yeah, they're the worst." He sat there in absolute silence for at least another 5 minutes before he realized what I had said. My friend half jokingly asked me, what are your views on child xxography? About 10,000 inches. I came up with a joke. I thought it was pretty hilarious at the time, so I told my cross-country team I had the best joke ever. "Hey guys, did you hear that one about the marathoner?" "No." "Well, you will eventually. It's a running joke." Crickets. Setup. At a hibachi grill. Dude next to me orders tofu, so his stuff gets cooked first, so it doesn't mix with meat. He gets 3 tofu patties. The chef accidentally breaks one while cooking it, and serves it anyway. I know you're not a meatloaf fan, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Was working at a gun store when an amputee customer came in. I mentioned to my coworker that he probably came in because he wants to be armed. She didn't think it was very funny. A friend was going to a nearby town that is famous for its monastery and its Oktoberfest. I guessed they were going to one, but they were going to the other. Either way, they're both total sausage fests. I replied. 12 years after seeing the movie and coming up with the idea, I finally had a shot. My lunch came to $7.06, and I gave the clerk a 10. She looked in her till, winced, and asked gently, "Do you have 6 cents?" I meant to whisper, but I was so excited for this shot, and that I remembered that it came out sounding like Bobcat Goldthwait when I said, "I see dead people." She decided she had enough change after all. I thought it was brilliant, but betrayed by my delivery. I'm the lead singer in a Franz Ferdinand cover band. We are called Gavrilo Princip and the Black Hands. What do we want? Airplane noises. When do we want them? In my English class, this girl said that a character was being very blatant with his feelings, and everybody looked at her confused and asked if she meant blatant. I said that her statement was the epitome of poor phonetics, which made the teacher laugh for about 3 minutes, while all of the students acted puzzled. Edit. Another one. Teacher asks if anyone knows what the word enigma means. After a short pause, I say it's a mystery to me, to a similar reaction as above. I was in a parade playing cymbals and someone asked me what happens if you drop one. I had this cool ass cymbal flip thing I did in the middle of the song that required me to flip it along my forearm and grab the edge, and I said then you hear the sound of one cymbal crashing, and nobody said anything. There's this Turkish soap opera called Silla. One day, there was an ad for it playing on TV which showed a scene of man arguing with Silla about their relationship. I instantly said, "You're tearing me apart, Silla." But no one got the reference. I just started working at a car dealership, and in a department-wide training session the teacher goes on a bit about how we're spreading good news, and says something like, "Have you heard about our Lord and Savior Hair? Hair is our dealership name." Without missing a beat I slid in. "He died for your M's." Only the chick next to me heard, and she started freaking dying of laughter. Everyone else looked at us like we're weirdos. In my psychology class, we had a packet of papers, and one of the things was a picture of a bird. We had to name what we thought it looked like. Someone said it looked like a sparrow. It was about to move on when someone else interrupted and started saying it was more of a swallow. I followed with which kind, African or European? Everyone just kinda stared at me. Not even a single how do you know so much about swallows? I'm quite proud of this one. My buddies and I were playing Rainbow Six and my friend complained saying that he didn't like the female characters in the game because they weren't intense. In a kind of knee-jerk reaction I respond with they are when they are camping. Not a word from any one of them. I saw a post about how Amish people would be left behind if humans were to go to the moon and live there, and I said in the comments Amishy when you're gone. Nothing. No upvote. No downvote. And no comments. No recognition for my genius pun whatsoever. Ridiculous. At a friend's housewarming party, one of her new neighbors was telling me that her dog, who was 7 or 8 months old, was pregnant. I kind of shook my head sadly and say puppies having puppies instead of babies having babies. Just a blank stare. Speech class. First day. Instructor, everyone name a great speaker and why you think they were great. Everyone does gets to me. Me, Abraham Lincoln. He kept it short, sweet, and was a mind-blowing individual. No one reacted. Freak out to hear. All of you. Just happened the other day. My coworker said to his wife, who also works with us, that he needed to make his car payment today. So I chimed in. Oh, so it's carpe diem without missing a beat. They didn't even react. Older sister had to undergo a double mastectomy, my twin sister, and I spoke with the surgeon afterwards. He told us everything went well, and that we'd be able to pick her up in outpatient the next day. In the meantime, I told the doctor to keep me abreast. I thought it was kinda funny. Doctor just nodded. There was this guy I met who hung paintings and installed art on people's walls for a living. I said, say it falls in 30 years. How long are you really on the hook for? My stepmother is incredibly loud. She once stood in the door screaming at the dog to get it to come in the house and I quipped, we'll have every dog in the neighborhood here if she keeps this up. I feel like that should have gone over better than it did. Two dudes were walking around, shopping in the grocery store, and they were in head-to-toe camouflage. I ran down the next aisle in order to turn the corner and almost run into them, and said, whoa, I totally didn't see you there. They actually did find it amusing. Anytime somebody is talking about a circular or spinning invention, wheels, Beyblade, weed whackers, etc., I comment that it was revolutionary. About half the time nobody gets it until the next day when they come up to and say oh, because it spins. Found a quarter in my dryer and said, looks like I'm money laundering. There was no one around to hear me. I worked in a hospital. A patient wanted more dessert, but hadn't eaten anything else on their tray. I said more pudding? How can you eat your pudding if you won't eat your meat? She looked at me like I had 3 heads as I skulked away. A stand-up comedian came to my small, backwoods college. Early on he asked the audience if anyone had a good clean joke. One popped immediately into mind, and I actually got up and told it. A man walks into a bar and says ouch. I was booed off the stage. Everyone acted like I was a complete idiot. After a workout a friend said, my calves hurt. Me, maybe they're having cows. Nothing. I legitimately woke up one morning with an incredible joke that my dream self must have created because it was my very first thought. My boyfriend was not amused. So now is my time to share it with the world. So 2 guys are out to lunch together. The first guy turns to his friend and says, I have the most amazing idea for a business that you and I can start up. It will make us millionaires overnight. But I need you to keep an open mind. The friend responds, alright, lay it on me. I'll try my best to be open. The guy explains, we are going to sell keychains made from poop. They will come in all different lengths and colors. We can braid them, twist them, or tie them. It's genius. What do you think? The friend, appalled, stops for a moment and tries to look at things with an open mind. He replies to the man, okay, but whose poop are we going to use? The guy says, well, mine of course. Are you serious? Shouts the friend. Yes, responds the guy. I crap, you not. Woo, I got one. I was at a college party, and someone comes up to me and says I look familiar. I, not being that wasted, respond, me, did I wrestle you in high school? Him, no I didn't wrestle. Me, metal shop. Him, no I don't think. Me, oh Ike. Sasha's dance class. I'm usually in the back cause of my weak ankles. The funny part was that he was really in my dance class and that's how he recognized me. He kinda smiled and walked away awkwardly. I on the other hand couldn't take it and had to go stand in the corner while I cried with laughter. I had to call my sister soon after because Emperor's New Groove is one of our favorite movies. Not me, but a friend was in line at an omelette egg bar and was asked how she likes her eggs. She said fertilized, and dear god I was laughing loud enough to make up for the awkward silence of everyone else. Joke I came up with myself and told at a conference. Did you hear about the accountant who had the original idea? No? Well, I heard he got 10 years. Ensue total silence. Student named Tyler complained that his buddies occasionally teased him by calling him Tyler Swift. I told him to shake it off. High five. Friend asked me if he looked gay because some dude had flirted with him. So I said, don't worry about it. You look straight as a curve. Not him or a single person at our table got it. I thought I was clever but nah, never bothered explaining to them. I was playing Cards Against Humanity with a group of education students. Blackguard, something to do with the newest Happy Meal edition, instead of a toy. My white card, Adderall. Perfect audience for this joke. I group of future teachers, yet they did not get it. May not be in the best taste, but I found it funny. Back in high school we were on the subject of the civil rights movement in American history. One girl asked the teacher a question using the term colored people and the teacher cut her off and proceeded to go on a tirade explaining how that was in very poor taste and they prefer to be called people of color. Fast forward to later in the period. The teacher is going over a project and explaining how we can feel free to use colored pencils for it. Without skipping a beat I say to my table mates I think she means pencils of color. The one guy lost his crap, but I just kinda got blank stares from the other two. During some friendly banter, I said to a short friend, I'd tell you to say that to my face, but I don't have a spare stepping stool. No one in the room got the joke, including him. So me and my boyfriend went to a wedding the other night. Decorations were good. Food was bad. Either way, we were sitting at the table watching them get ready to cut the cake like most people do at weddings and he said, what kind of cake do you think it is? So I turned to him and said wedding cake and then turned back to what I was doing. And he didn't laugh because he was too busy being angry at me. I, however, was losing my crap. Convince my daughter that all seagulls are named Steven. A joke that ends in a triple pun. What is the name of Death's drum set? Repercussion. I was out with some coworkers at a bar and was paying for a round of shots. There were 5 of us doing them. So I decided to try and mimic an old joke about an ancient Roman walking into a bar. So I walk up to the bartender, held up 2 fingers and said, 5 shots of whiskey please. She completely ignored my attempt at a joke, which was probably only funny to me because I was a bit buzzed already, and asked me to clarify what kind I wanted. The school I used to work at had a dead beetle on the floor. The science teacher was like, huh, wonder what kind of beetle that is. I said, looks like a Pete Best. No one got it because he's an ex-Beatle. Pete Best was the drummer in Ghost Replaced. In college we had a group speech about sex in advertisement. I was doing the conclusion. The person before me ended their part of the speech with a slide that had a gorgeous woman in a bikini. I came up and said, and there was the body of our speech. I'll wrap it up with our conclusion. Freaking silence.